Why are airlines and the government still bringing Canadians home?
Every morning at about 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Justin Trudeau takes a small break from his staycation at Rideau Cottage, comes out his front door to a gaggle of mainstream media reporters who are just fawning over the Government of Canada's handling of this crisis. It's been atrocious, but nobody seems to be able to see that except for everyday Canadians who are dealing with the fallout of Justin Trudeau's decisions, his inability to close borders, his preference of putting refugees above Canadians because, of course, they are now exempt. Even if they're sick, they're allowed to come home. But the story has changed recently. And if you've been following along with the Trudeau Morning Show since it began, well, you'll see that Justin Trudeau actually admitted that his security screening at borders is ineffectual at best. You might remember back when this all started, he said Canadians can come home, but if they're sick, they have to stay put. If they're in Italy and they're sick, they got to stay there. Even if there's no medical care, they're not allowed to come back to their own country, which was actually a charter violation. But that all changed today when a reporter asked Justin Trudeau this question.
Next question, Eric Atkins, the Globe and Mail. Your line is open.
Hi there, thank you. Given that Canadians returning from abroad are bringing confirmed cases of COVID-19 into Canada as recently as a few days ago, why are airlines and the government still bringing Canadians home?
That is a good but a difficult question. In Canada, we understand how important it is to keep Canadians safe. And we hope and are demanding that those Canadians who do return home self-isolate for 2 weeks. I know there are countries that have decided that people overseas or people elsewhere are not allowed to come home to Canada. That is not a choice we've made. We want Canadians to come home, but we also very much expect and demand that they keep themselves and their neighbors safe by self-isolating in rigorous conditions for 2 weeks as soon as they get home. We would much rather be able to have people home than have them stranded elsewhere around the world where things are getting, worse.
Canadians were concerned that they wouldn't be able to come home if they're sick, but now Justin Trudeau says that they are coming home. Even though they have been told if they're sick or they're symptomatic, they're not allowed on planes. Even domestically, they're not allowed on planes. But a reporter pointed out to Justin Trudeau, I'm not sure if he meant to embarrass him in this way, but he did. He pointed out that infected passengers have come into this country. One came in to Toronto and died just a few hours after landing. Justin Trudeau has told us time and time again that there's different measures at the borders, from masks being handed to connecting passengers. That turned out to be a lie. You saw my coverage yesterday.
Where are you headed?
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon, okay. So that's interesting because we were told specifically that passengers who are connecting flights would get masks from the feds.
No.
He said that sick passengers wouldn't be allowed on domestic or international flights to return home to Canada. Well, now he says that there was just no way to screen them at all anyways, so they're not trying anymore. Justin Trudeau has been lying to Canadians at every point in this crisis, from the measures his government was supposedly taking at the border to whether or not Canadians were even allowed to come home. Many Canadians stayed in Italy, Europe, and around the world because they were worried if they had a slight cough, they wouldn't be allowed to come home. But that government policy seems to be changing on the fly, depending on what Justin Trudeau spits out on his morning show. He's been lying through his puppet, Dr. Tam, who tells Canadians that masks are ineffective and that you shouldn't wear them. Somehow masks only work with the magic touch of medical workers. Somehow it works for them to protect them against the Wuhan coronavirus. But if you're trying to protect yourself or your family, if you have respiratory illnesses, or if you have a compromised immune system, well, the mask just won't work for you, you plebeian Canadian, according to Justin Trudeau's bureaucrats. It's a disgrace how he's handled this crisis, and it's only going to get worse from here. For Rebel News, I'm Keean Bexte. Thanks for checking out our coverage here at Rebel News. Be sure to like and subscribe to our videos on YouTube. It's important that on top of that, you ring the bell right next to the subscription button. YouTube is pushing traffic towards mainstream media outlets here on YouTube. And if you want to stay up to date with the news, the only way to do that is by ringing the bell.